All right, hello. My name is Professor Kelsey Stewart. I'm coming to you for our week 3 on leads and quote formations for journalism MO2, digital media, reporting, and writing. We're going to first talk about the type of leads, and this is kind of finalizing the structure of how our first line of our news story will go. In regards to tips for leads, we have 5 W's and H all in one. This is an option of where you can include all the 5 W's, who, what, when, where, why, and how, or you can leave the one that is the most vital to readers within the lead, or you can omit the one that is most vital to your readers and kind of drag them into reading the story. We want to make sure that our leads are 25 to 40 words or less. We want to make sure that there's zero clutter and we have focus and clarity. So we don't have excessive scene layout. We are just setting the scene. We want to make sure that we are concise in our descriptions. This is not a drafting of your novel, so a dark and stormy night will not suffice as a lead to your story. Rather than focusing on setting the scene with adjectives, seek out to bring in verbs and subjects of the story. Verbs, again, are action and give off a sense of happening now, whereas subjects help to further along the story with keyword optimization, helping to pull the story higher up on organic search. Leads will often be attributed to the headlines as well, and they could pull up on organic search. Is to have 0 to be. So all leads are in the active voice, unless it's crime coverage. Look at this headline example. 9 people were killed Sunday in a crash. We want to make sure that the lead delivers what it promises. If we see that lead, or we want to make sure that we hear more about the 9 people killed on Sunday and in what type of crash. In understanding the context, how many times has this story been covered by the media? Kobe Bryant's horrific crash with his daughter, that was covered on a ton of different platforms and publications. We want to make sure that when we release a headline or a lead, it has a unique spin to it, but it also has the same subjects so that it has the equivalency to tie in organic search option and keyword research. Types of leads. We have the straight lead. This is a typical hard news lead. It's a brief summary, an all-in-one approach. So we are including who, what, when, where, why, and how. Rather than leaving out any of the 5 W's and H's, we are going to give them everything, because the information is not lacking. It's just the fullness of the story that our readers would like to hear. Here's an example. Trump's attorneys hint they will invoke executive privilege to block Bolton's testimony. And that's from the LA Times. So we would want to see the exact details of that story and how it happened. Another type of lead is the anecdotal lead. This is a quick but relevant story to draw in the reader. It helps to enhance the story focus, and the connection is explained within the lead. So if we give 2 kind of opposite or 2 different circumstances, we're going to describe them further in the lead. So here we go is an example. Hong Kong is suspending high-speed rail service and cutting flights by half as infections exceed 4,500. We are seeing that the story of the transportation service being cut in half, such as trains and flights, and we're seeing the infections at about 5,000. This is again for coronavirus. Those 2 tie in as they try to corral the infection, and we will see how that works and how there are plans for that as we read the story. Another type of lead is setting the scene. This describes the physical location because its relevance to the story. A man accused of shooting 2 on-duty New York Police Department officers in separate incidents in the Bronx over the weekend told investigators he did it because he was tired of police, prosecutors said. This is from the Wall Street Journal just a few weeks ago. The Wall Street Journal released this article and gave a lead that sets the scene and describes not only the physical location, but also probably one of their top quotes, which we've discussed. It sets the scene and delivers what they want in order to grab their readers to read further. It's another type of lead. This is not as common. This is the first person lead. This describes a journalist's personal experience with a topic. It's usually only used when there is a valuable perspective from that journalist. An example would be the Acorn reporter Don McGlee giving the LA Times an opinion on how the Borderline massacre and last year's fires changed Thousand Oaks and me as a reporter. So she has a personal pronoun because it's coming from her own experience. These are typically only used in op-ed or opinion editorial situations. We have the observational lead. This is an authoritative observation about a story and how it fits in with the larger picture. Know the broader context of your subject matter if you're going to pursue this lead. An example is tax records and literary criticism are strange bedfellows, but over the weekend the two combined and brought into the world, this is where you would know the broader context, a literary controversy, call it the Ferrante Furor of 2016. So you would have to know how those two, the tax records and literary criticism, apply to the Ferrante Furor of 2016. This is an example of using two historical relevancies to determine a lead that would bring in two kind of opposite trends or happenings. We have another type of lead, the zinger lead. This is a dramatic attention grabbing with facts to back example. Think of breaking news when it just happened and it is being released. Usually mass tragedy of some kind, but the news outlet is one of the first to release it. Another type of lead is a question lead. We ask a question that is answered directly after to provide ample context. An example of this would be, is Trump's new budget proposal able to fix our debt crisis? The next sentence would then highlight the proposed cuts to allow for the reader to further understand how the budget would level out debt, if it does. Now let's talk about quote formations. So, what is a quote? A quote is a written formation of the words people have spoken. Quotes are essential to the news stories as they back up the subject or topic with live experiences. In journalism, quotes are surrounded by quotation marks, either single, if it's a quote within a quote, or double, if it's just a standard quote. If a quote is easier to read rephrased, then that form is called a paraphrase quote. We will talk about that a little bit more. But there are three main reasons why you should use quotes in print or digital journalism. If you repeat the exact words which people themselves use, you will reduce the risk of misreporting what they say. When we give a person's exact words, our readers can see both the ideas and the way they were presented. People often use lively language when they speak. Quotes allow you to put that lively language directly in your story. Bottom line, let people speak for themselves. That's our job. In order to have a quote, we need to have an attribution. An attribution is sourcing where the quote or information is from. Here's an example, and the result is often devastating, said Randy Kilfrim, lead organizer for the nonprofit STAR. We are currently seeking another alternative. Lead organizer for the nonprofit STAR, and his name is his attribution of who said that quote. Here's a transition with another attribution. According to a survey released by the Pew Institute, more than 65% of native pumas are hunted a season for their coats. So the survey by the Pew Institute with the 65%, that is another attribution, backing up the quote, backing up the information, backing up again the lead. Here's quote formation. The entirety of what is spoken is written within quotation marks. Professor Kelsey Stewart said, a journalism instructor at Moorpark College. There's our attribution. Moorpark College's Digital Journalism and Public Relations Department takes pains to craft a new breed of grammatically savvy reporters in their ranks. There's our transition. How you determine to split the quoted information is what will determine your skills as a writer and reporter, Stewart said. That's our second quote from the same source, so we're using our last name according to AP style, and that also gives attribution to that quote. So we will never have just a quote without it saying who said it. There will always be an attribution. You will never state facts that are not common knowledge without giving attribution to where you received the facts from. If there's any questions, you can find out some further reading. I have a chapter linked on the news manual. It's another free online textbook. Other than that, this is important information, so make sure you review it and take notes. Thank you.